I'm not president. And if you want to talk about legacy, let's talk about the legacy of mass deportation.
Hold on. First things first. Why is she drunker than any human being has ever been?
Of people not voting and Donald Trump.
Is this slowed down? No, her cadence couldn't be explained just by the video being slightly slowed down. She sounds insane.
I'm not president. And if you want to talk about legacy, let's talk about the legacy of mass deportation. Of people not voting.
Was this in Chicago? Let me see if I can find it.
Your legacy is genocide!
The legacy will always be genocide! You know what? I am not president of the United States. You want to go to the White House and talk to him? Then go on and do that.
But the genocide was also happening when you were the vice president of the United States. So she's, I think what's the group, the PRL? Those people keep following her in her book tour and accusing her of being a genocider, which she is. But this keeps happening over and over, you know? It's the PRL, right? It's always that group. PSL, yes. Yes, Queen. Thank you.
Is a very strong independent.
Yes. Let's support our independent friends. Let's support them.
So, because you are now...
What about the press you let die in Gaza, Kamala? You said...
Holy shit, that was the wokest pronunciation of Gaza I've ever heard in my life. That was insane. I feel all of us just got mogged watching that. That was fucking... consonants that are unpronounceable to American English speakers. Jesus Christ.
$20 billion to fund the genocide!
That's true.
You should be ashamed of yourself! You have killed men, women, and children! Pregnant children!
Pregnant. Oh, hold on. Let's not disparage the Palestinians quite that much. I like how the caption also said pregnant women, like correct. Yeah, it's, you know.
You fought genocide! Kamala Harris! Your legacy is genocide!
Gee, I'm getting a sore throat just listening.
Kill her, Kamala! Kill her, Kamala! You are charged with genocide! You belong in the Hague! Shame on you! Shame on you! Kill her, Kamala! You can't hide! We charge you with genocide!
This guy's insane. Yeah, but like he's also correct. I mean, he hasn't said anything wrong here, except for the pregnant children thing. That was a little out of pocket, but it's a heated moment. Heated moment, you know. Misspoke. That's fine. I do it. Everyone does it. Why is he insane? Well, no. He just sounds insane. But that's just what people sound like when they're going sicko mode. You know, nasty freak to the wall till it drops. Shouting. What's the Hague? It's the institution people pretend matters whenever something bad happens in the world. She did cover a genocide. It's true. I mean, based to these people, they should harass her to the ends of the earth. Again, like the problem is that like Kamala right now is doing a book tour where she's trying to distance herself from Biden and essentially indicate that the Biden campaign and Biden himself prevented her from spreading her wings and flying as a candidate. But she's not actually willing to disavow or distance herself from any of the things that she defended under Biden. She's essentially trying to make herself distinct as a political... Somebody told Kamala Harris, hey, the fact that you're just a carbon copy of Biden is hurting you in the polls. And then she is trying to separate herself from Biden without actually changing a single thing about her policies or positions. You know? She's just as bought as the rest of them, though I find it difficult to imagine she could be as bad as Biden on Gaza as she might have been just out of spite, you know? I hate her, she's so annoying. That is also true. I mean, I don't know. Does anyone else feel like it's kind of weird that she hasn't apologized or taken credit or said she's made a mistake? Like, she has in a very superficial way, but she lost to Trump, and everything that has happened since has because of her loss. And she went quiet after she lost for like 6 months. Like, isn't that weird? Isn't that strange? Yeah, she's smug. She blames us. I don't like I'm just sick of this. Like, look, okay? From the context of interpersonal conversation, if you're not a politician, I think it's fine to shame people for their voting. If a person didn't vote for Kamala Harris in 2024, for one, my thought here is, well, she kind of didn't do a very good job making herself appealing to the voters, which is absolutely true. But I think a person would be correct in saying, like, you should have voted for you dumb shit. Like, if you didn't vote for Kamala Harris in 2024, I think it's fine to, like, to whatever extent it even matters now, which is none at all. I think you can poke them on the shoulder and go like, yeah, obviously it wouldn't have been this fucking bad under Kamala Harris, you know? Obviously. Right? Okay, sure. A little electoral shaming for fun. You know who shouldn't do it? The candidate who lost. What kind of fucking campaign strategy is it to lose a campaign and then run on a re-election campaign where you're shaming people for not having voted for you in the first place? Fuck, even Trump didn't do that. Trump didn't run in 2024 trying to browbeat and shame the people who didn't vote for him in 2020. He did it claiming he had already won in 2020 and that he was just here to do it doubly, triply more so this time so they couldn't rig it again. Please tell me she's not running again. I hate this world so much. She's probably going to run again. Was this supposed to teach her something? We know for a fact that her position on Gaza, that is to say her total non-position or total acquiescence to the Biden administration, her refusal to depart from it, that cost her votes. The fact that her response to people's upsetness is to like girl boss her way through it and act as though they're the problem for having not voted for her. Again, it can't be said better than this. People who won't draw the line at genocide, how do you expect them to draw the line at democracy? How does that work?
I'm not president. And if you want to talk about legacy, let's talk about the legacy of mass deportation of people not voting.
Of people not voting. Like, really? The legacy of mass deportation, not voting. So, like, these are equal evils to her. They're worthy of being mentioned in the same breath. We're talking about, so somebody says your legacy is genocide, and her response is, well, now the legacy is of mass deportation and not voting? Wait, so are you blaming the people in the audience for not voting for you despite you supporting the genocide that they're protesting you for? Or are you saying that Trump is removing people's ability to vote? Like, genuinely, it seems like in her mind, not like, it's spite, man. I keep saying it, and I'm right. The Democrats are contemptuous of their voters because they smugly believe that they're smarter than the Republicans and that they're better effectuators of government bureaucracy. They're better capable of steering this big, monstrous machine that is the government. They're more competent at it. And because they think they're better than the Republicans, which they are, right? They get really smug and entitled, and they think that it's every citizen's responsibility to vote for them, no matter how unpopular, uncharismatic, unlikable, or like generally off-putting they are. They think that it's already a done deal. For them, the politics part of politics is just annoying, tedious, banal. This is why they don't have a problem with Palantir. How many Democrat officials have you seen talk about Palantir? How many Democrat officials have you seen talk about the NPSM 7, the National Security Memorandum? How many Democrat officials have you seen talk about the surveillance state? That's right, because they don't care. They don't believe in any of that shit. They're fine with it. They would love it if they didn't have to deal with a democracy. Their job, and this is the Republicans' job as well, it's the same for both parties, is to run the machine and make sure that the powerful stay powerful. That's it. They're bought by donors, by corporations, by lobbyists, by oligarchs. Their job is to make sure the machinery continues to run. The democracy part of the political system is just a obnoxious bureaucratic hurdle that needs to be overcome that the Democrats don't really believe in. The Republicans are on the upper ground right now because they started to take it more seriously. Before Trump, they weren't. Now they're taking advantage of it more aggressively. They're treating it like an actual vehicle for change. Not for democratic change, mind you, but for change. So anyway, the reason she doesn't feel any need to apologize for what's happening, for the fact that she failed the American people, for the fact that she ran a bad campaign, for the fact that her positions are indefensible, for the fact she supported genocide, blah, blah, blah. The reason she doesn't have to apologize, because in her mind, imagine it like a narcissistic parent who is willing to tolerate any misfortune that befalls you because it's a consequence of you indignantly not choosing their help over another's. Does that make sense? Like, you've got a shitty mom and a shitty dad, and, you know, the mom says, I'll help you, and you're like, no, I'll go with the dad, and things go poorly because you go with the dad, and is the mom sympathetic? No. She crosses her arms and she tut-tuts you because, you know, ultimately it was your mistake. I apologize for denigrating this argument by reducing it to some Freudian, you know, psychological, oh, it all comes back to the, you know, envy of the hands or whatever bullshit, but I do think it's kind of like that. I think that they're very emotionally immature people. And in that way, I think the Republicans are both better at politics and more knowledgeable about politics. They might be terrible at running the machine. Trump is running the country into the ground, but it doesn't matter. Politics is about politics. Same with Cuomo. He gets heckled and just repeats Zohran Mamdani's name for 3 minutes with the smuggest face ever. They're all like this. If you look for symptoms of this behavior, every legacy Democrat is like this. From Schumer to Jeffries to Cuomo to Buttigieg, who is not himself a legacy Democrat but tries to imitate them, to Kamala Harris, and when he was lucid, at times, with Biden, particularly with Israel. You know? You see the same, like, oh, you're challenging me? You really think you know how to do this better than I do? Come on. And then this like distanced, unemotional, retreated smugness, you know? They know better than you, or they think they know better than you, so they feel like they have license to just disengage from it. They think that sincerity is naive.
Okay. After cutting $1 billion
We're on
to funding.
we're on a public sidewalk. Thank you.
He wrote them the right way after accepting $113,000 from
Okay.
You have a child? You have a child? He is not a child. He is a sexual harasser. $60 million trying to cover it up.
This is what Zohran Mamdani does. These are his tactics to send hecklers and disruptors because he doesn't want New Yorkers to hear the truth.
I know for a fact
because they're afraid of the truth.
Okay. Take money from the Walmart family, the Murdochs, right? The
Tell
CEO of
Zohran I said hello.
Oh, fighting for us all the time.
Tell-
Ken Griffin,
All right,
who owns all the penthouses in Manhattan.
Tell Zohran I said hello.
You tell him you say hello
All
when
right.
you lose, right?
Okay.
I guess the big difference between the parties that seems to reoccur over and over, and I'm speaking generally, but it just, the Democrats feel entitled to their victory and the Republicans are willing to fight for it. It's not even about how competent your governance is or what you believe in or like what you're even going to do once you're in office. The Democrats feel like by right of being the better option, which they are, they're already like meant to be in office, and it's your responsibility to know that. Whereas the Republicans are aware that this is all a desperate power bid, and they act like it. And that's a general rule. That doesn't apply to like every single candidate, but I think it's a reoccurring tendency. Yeah, and that's a large part of why Dems can't convince voters they feel their owed allegiance. When was the last time you even saw a mainstream Democrat try to win over voters? I mean that sincerely. I'm actually asking for you to think. Like a mainstream establishment Democrat. When was the last time you saw them engage in a bid to win voters that didn't feel like just a reaffirmation of the party's talking points, you know, existing policy? By a bid, I mean like a really aggressive, look at what Trump does with RFK Jr., for example, or what he does, I guess, every day, because he's so public, he's so aggressive, you know? Every day he's making arguments for himself. He's not just saying, we will lower costs for blah, blah, blah. He's making arguments. Now, of course, in his case, his arguments are incoherent. He's lying, but they're still bids for public support. I think Biden with the unions, maybe. Maybe. I think actually, if anything, Biden undersold how good he was for unions, and it hurt him. I like, because he had no control of the bully pulpit. Like, here's a perfect example. I'll give you, hold on. Okay. What's the name of that fella? Collins up in Maine? That real, rough and ready former soldier Senate candidate. Graham Plattner, not Collins, thank you. Graham Plattner, right? Popular, hit the ground running, super like aggressive messaging, very, very popular. Take a look at this lady. Hold on, let me find her. I need to find her, okay? Hold your dang horses. Don't worry, folks, okay? You don't want Plattner, do you? Some kind of maverick outsider shaking things up in the Senate? No. Here's a real senatorial candidate.
Folks, do you want Democrats to take back the Senate? Well, I'm Governor Janet Mills, and I'm running to flip Maine's Senate seat blue. Susan Collins has sold out Maine and bowed down to special interests and to Donald Trump. But that ends now. So chip in $5 today, and let's win this together.
The governor for Maine, who is 77 years old, has been picked by Chuck Schumer to be the Democratic candidate for the Senate seat they're fighting for. Or, in other words, Graham Plattner, who's got a bunch of energy going, Schumer saw that and said, unacceptable. We need another centrist octogenarian in office. If she ran and won, she would be 85 years old at the end of her first term. She would be the oldest first-term senator in American history. And yeah, I'm not exaggerating about the Schumer thing, by the way. Just in case you thought. In August, Axios reported that Democratic Senate leader Chuck Schumer was actively recruiting Mills to challenge Collins. Later that month, Mills told reporters a final decision to enter the race may come in November. August also saw the entry of Sullivan Harbor Master Graham Plattner running on a progressive populist platform. Plattner received the endorsement of Vermont Senator Bernie Sanders and organized labor. In October, Sanders publicly discouraged Mills from challenging Plattner, who'd raised over $3.2 million in small donors since his campaign launch. On October 7th, Axios reported Mills was planning to enter the race before the end of the month, and 3 days later, the same outlet reported she would formally enter on October 14th, citing a leaked campaign document. The same day, an Act Blue page was launched, and a fundraising video was posted to Twitter, but both were deleted. This was deleted after it was posted. So in other words, Chuck Schumer, who is demonic beyond all words and probably stacks up there with the worst of the Republicans, saw a progressive populist candidate challenging the Republican in the Maine Senate seat and said, no, and pitched her after trying to get her to enter the race. And it's been a shit show, of course, because she probably doesn't actually want to run. I mean, maybe she does a little bit, but it wouldn't be the first time Schumer's chucked in an opponent to, oppose a local progressive candidate. Thanks. I'm glad you appreciated that. You don't hate the Dems enough. Very entitled people. Very entitled. And an immense threat to our country, They basically handed our country over to the Republicans on a silver platter. They're collaborationists. Evil, evil people. This tweet hits it on the head. The Democrats actually find their answer to the how do we reconnect with young men question about once every 6 months, but it's never a guy who will take a donation from Lockheed Martin, so they consider the question unanswerable. Yep. Plattner outperforms Mills by 21 points among Trump voters, 16 on independents, 14 points among conservatives, 13 points among gun households, 13 among 18 to 44, 13 among Republican, 10 points in deeply rural North and West Maine. So the only groups that favor Mills over Plattner are people who voted for Kamala Harris in 2024 and people who are registered Democrat. Oh, and people who are, quote, ideology liberal by -2. And keep in mind that Mills is benefiting from an overwhelming amount of name recognition by virtue of being the governor. So this is like the Mamdani Cuomo thing again. In fact, Schumer's literally doing the exact same trick twice. So even with the name recognition of governorship, Mills is being outperformed basically across the board by Collins. So basically Schumer's doing everything in his power to stop Dems from moving even remotely left. Yeah, that's his job. So is Plattner out? No. I'm so out of it today, man. So out of it. Plattner leading with women against Mills. By how much? Let me see. Gee, yeah, by 2 points. That's crazy.